to make it easy, not to practice. If you don't practice, then it's easy.
Is it?
So, good evening again, everyone. Thank you for coming, joining. And again, I would like to start with a short breathing, mindful breathing exercise. Watching the breath mindfully to quiet our mind and to bring our mind in moment and present. Okay. Again, just try to make yourself comfortable, relax. And feel the weight of your body on cushion or chair. And try to let go of all the thoughts of the past, future. And keep your mind on the breath. When you breathe in, observing it mindfully and being aware you are breathing in. And when you breathe out, again, watching it mindfully and being aware you are breathing out. Simply just watching mindfully and being aware. Once our mind is more settled, quiet, peaceful, we try to cultivate good motivation, intention about being here. And for example, we can think, as long as our mind is overwhelmed by negative feelings, thoughts, such as strong anger, strong desire, jealousy, pride, ignorance, it's hard to have peaceful mind. It's hard to have really true happiness, joy from inside. And not only we don't have inner peace, joy, happiness, that moment, when our mind is disturbed and agitated by such negative feelings, thoughts, we tend to become more aggressive, more violent, and hurt and harm others more. Therefore, since such negative thoughts, feelings are harmful to others and oneself, I must try to reduce them, minimize them as much as possible, and slowly eliminate them completely. And those negative thoughts doesn't go away just by wishing, but we need to engage in the right practice meditations that can help to reduce and eliminate those negative disturbing thoughts. And to be able to practice and meditate correctly, continuously, we must continue to study, practice, need to be reminded of the practice. For that very reason, I'm going to listen and engage in discussions, reflection, contemplations. May all these activities of listening, discussing, reflecting, contemplating, may all of these become cause and condition to achieve our own highest potential, the fully awakened state. So we can be not only help and benefit, but greatest help and benefit, not only for few, but for all sentient beings, living beings. Okay, so then we can the refuge, what you done? I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits of generosity and so forth, may I become a Buddha to benefit transmigrated beings. Sangye Chedan Sogi Shonam La Chanchu Pado Dani Kapso Shin Nage Jin Sogi Be Sonange Chola Penche Sangye Ruwa Sangye Shedam Soge Shonam Changju Rani Kyapsu Dage Jinso Gibe Sonam Chola Penche Sangye Ruwa Sho Sangye Rujen Jeroni Dawa Tunze Pam Tambe Chune Tunze Beko Tam Dela Sa Sa So yesterday we discussed up to verse number 9, which kind of discuss about the kind of the foundations and the preliminary practice of the main practice, the practice of great scope of the Mahayana Bodhisattva practice. And the main of that is, cultivating the artistic intention, the what we call bodhicitta mind. And in order to cultivate this bodhicitta mind, then there are different practice meditations to develop that bodhicitta mind. Primarily there are two kind of method that has been taught, and one method is called 7 point of cause and effect, and then the other method is called equalizing exchange himself with others. And so in the verse number 10, then it discusses about this particular method of meditations or technique to cultivate the bodhicitta mind by following that particular method. And so, as you see, when your mothers who have loved you since time without beginning, so here the understanding is all sentient beings have been our most kind, caring, loving mother so many times, not only one time, from beginning of lifetime, They have been most caring, loving, kind when they have been as a human mothers, sometimes as an animal in the animal realms and in other realms, and so many times. So when such mothers, sentient beings are suffering, what usually your own happiness? And when they are now suffering, and how can you not have any concern for them? How can you be so, be so selfish and just only think of your own happiness and completely neglecting and of the well-being of others, such most kind mother sentient beings, and so again, is kind of telling ourselves, how can I be so selfish? How can I only think of my own happiness and completely forget about the happiness of others? How can I be not have concern for the well-being, happiness of others? That is really very incorrect, not right, not ethical, in such way. Then we try to, develop a kind of the wish to do something for the mother sentient being, to be help and benefit for the mother sentient beings, So therefore, to free limitless living beings, develop the altruistic intentions. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. And so try to cultivate that love and compassion, wanting to be greatest help, benefit, to free them from their suffering and cause of suffering, and through that, out of that loving kindness and compassion, then we try to develop the altruistic intention of the Bodhisattva mind. And that is one of the main practice of the Bodhisattvas. That is the very hard practice of the Bodhisattvas. That is like the life force of the Bodhisattvas. So again, in this practice, we recognize all mothers and all sentient beings have been our most kind mother, not only mother, many times. And then we remember the kindness of them each time when they were most kind mothers to us, and kindness, even when they are not mother, the kindness we receive from other sentient beings, as a father, sometimes as a father, sometimes as a siblings, sometimes as a grandparent, sometimes as a friend, sometimes as a stranger, and so forth, And also whatever comfort we enjoy in our life, they come through the contributions and kindness of others. Everything we eat, everything we wear, the shelter, everything. So we reflect, contemplate their kindness. And then the more you contemplate, the more you feel the kindness of others, the more you feel closer to them and them dear to you, kind to you, precious to you. And the more you feel it, then, it is much more easy to feel the wish to repay the kindness. And so then third, cultivating a strong wish to repay their kindness. And then the way to repay kindness, there are so many different ways we can be help benefit, but the best way to help and benefit is to help them to be free from those afflictive emotions, those disturbing emotions, which are the root of their sufferings, and help them to find not really temporary happiness, but really lasting ultimate happiness. And with that, then we'll try to develop, loving kindness, the wish to see them happiness and cause of happiness, and wanting yourself to lead them to happiness and cause of happiness, and then cultivating the compassions, wishing them to be free from all the suffering and cause of suffering. Not only wishing them to be free from suffering and cause of suffering, that you yourself want to help them to be free from suffering and cause of suffering. And then cultivating a special attitude or universal responsibility. Not only you wish them to be free from suffering and wish them happiness, but taking the responsibility to help them to free from the suffering and lead them to happiness by yourself alone. Thereby cultivate a very strong attitude, very, very strong, courageous attitude of that special. And out of that, when you have that strong wish, you have so much strong wish to help them, to free them from suffering and cause of happiness. But at the same time, even though you have this wonderful, very powerful, strong wish, but in reality, when ourself is unenlightened, when we ourselves is lost in samsara and confused, when we ourselves are overwhelmed by those delusions, then we see is we cannot help them to overcome from such delusions, such confusions, and really free them from all the suffering and cause of suffering. And then you cultivate the wish to achieve enlightenment, because you see, if you can achieve if you become fully enlightened, fully awakened, then you can, when you are free from all the confusions, free from all the obscuration, and when you actualize all the inner positive qualities, then that is when we can be greatest help and benefit, and then you develop a wish to achieve that fully enlightened state. And the wish to achieve that fully enlightened state, driven by loving kindness, compassion, is what the Bodhisattva that we talked about yesterday. So that is about cultivating that Bodhisattva mind. And next, 11 explained that the other method of cultivating Bodhisattva mind, that the other method, what we call equalizing and changing self with others. In that particular method, then we use slightly different methods to cultivate the same Bodhisattva mind, but using different technique of meditation or method. So there it says, all the suffering come from the wish for your own happiness. All the suffering come from our selfish attitude. Our selfish attitude. Our self-centeredness. When we want to be the center of the world, instead of what can I be help to others, it's all about how can they be help to me. Instead of what can I do for others, it's all about how can others do to me. Instead of how can I be kind to others, it's about how can others be kind to me. Instead of being how can I be nice and like others, it's all about how can others like me. So it's all about me, 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 me. That is the selfish attitude, self-centeredness. Obsessed with oneself. Where we feel like we have to be the center of the world, and everyone is kind of, centered around that. And that such selfish attitude is the very root of our suffering problem. So that is here what it's saying. Perfect Buddhas are born from the thought to help others. On the other hand, the cherishing thought for others, when you have concern for others, when you think of well-being of others, when others become even more important than yourself, when you cherish others even more than yourself, such cherishing thought for others, is the root of all the happiness. Such thought is the root of all the happiness. When we have such thought, it gives you immediately, sense of calm, easy mind, put you in ease. When you are not self-possessed, and when you don't feel like you should be the center of the world, but you turn your mind towards others, make the others the kind of the center of the world, then a lot of time our mind being disturbed, because he was not so nice to me, because he didn't like me, because he did this, all this kind of, all these thoughts kind of subside. And when all such thoughts subside, your mind is much more peace, is, you don't get disturbed by their such actions and behavior. And so you find more peace, joy, happiness. You find more satisfactions. You find more meaning in your life when you feel like that, when you are constantly, think of others with loving kindness, compassion, with a charity and thought for others, there's a sense of meaning, more meaning in your life, sense of purpose in your life. And again, that gives you joy, happiness, confidence, self-confidence, courageous, Mm. And not only that, also it it gives happiness of futures. And eventually, it leads to the ultimate happiness of fully awakened state. The fully awakened, the Buddhahood, the ultimate happiness of Buddha, or the fully awakened that come through the cherishing thought for others. So through such meditation, we try to understand the faults and shortcoming of selfish attitude and the excellent quality or the benefit of cherishing thought for others. With that understanding, therefore exchange your own happiness for the suffering of others. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Therefore, then we change the attitude. Exchange the attitude. At the moment, the attitude is all about me. And we change, then we make it's all about others. At the moment, we neglect others. We overly cherish ourselves. Instead of that, then we try to cherish others even more than oneself. And such is the Bodhisattva's practice. At the moment, whenever there is something good, happiness, something good, we want it to happen to us. We wish it to happen to us. Whenever there is pain and suffering, we wish it is not us who is going through this, it's someone else. Not me, someone else. So we try to change that attitude when you practice bodhisattvas, Whenever there's happiness, you wish others to have that happiness. Everyone to have that happiness. When there's suffering to others, instead of wishing them that, you wish that suffering I can take on myself instead of them suffering that. So it's totally changing our way of thinking, our attitude at the moment. Such is the Bodhisattva practice, changing that our happiness giving to others, taking others suffering ourselves, which is so in such meditations technique, we try to meditate on what you call equalizing self with others, trying to meditate and trying to feel that we all are same, equal, all sentient beings, that we all want, just as we want happiness and do not want suffering, each and every sentient beings equally want to be happy and do not want suffering. Just as we have a right to be happy and not to suffer, each and every sentient being has a right to be happy and not to suffer. So meditating on that. And then feeling we all are same, equal on that fundamental level. That is the very basics to feel compassion to all sentient beings. And then meditating on the shortcoming or the selfish attitude, as mentioned here, meditating on the benefit of cherishing thought for others. And through that understanding, the shortcoming of the selfish attitude and the benefit of cherishing thought for others, then we try to exchange the attitude. And as a way to do that, one practice is to the practice of tonglen, taking and giving. Then we practice that technique of tonglen, taking and giving. Taking others' suffering on yourself through meditations, through visualizations, by, in relation to the breath. When you breathe in, you imagine, visualize taking all the suffering and cause of suffering on others, on yourself. And when you breathe out, you imagine, you visualize, sending all your happiness, all the wealth, all the virtues of past, present, futures, all the excellent, positive quality, whatever you have, sending to others, giving them happiness and cause of happiness. And through the practice of such tonglen, or taking and giving, then we cultivate very high, strong level of true love and compassion. And out of that true love and compassion, then again we generate the Bodhisattva mind, as mentioned in the earlier technique. So those two are the two techniques. And next, once we have cultivated the Bodhisattva mind in our meditations, then when we are in the post-meditation, when we are in, engaging in the world, engaging with the others in the world, then how to, transform, all these obstacles, challenges, difficult, painful experience, situation into something virtuous, something into the path. So next is on that. So when someone rob you something or steal something from you, wealth, whatever it is, when such things happens, then how can you transform that something into the path? So that is where it is. So here, even if someone out of strong desire, it could be out of strong desire, or it could be out of any afflictive emotions, it could be out of anger, it could be out of jealousy, it could be out of whatever, but mostly strong desire, any steal all your wealth or has it stolen, rob or steal your wealth, your valuable, something you cherish, something you value, normally our normal reaction would be very angry and upset. When something that happened, our mind would be very disturbed, upset and angry. And out of that anger and upset, we wish them bad. We have bad, ill feelings and so forth. But here, when you are training in Bodhisattvas, or when the Bodhisattvas, instead, when such things happen, instead of getting upset and angry for having stolen something you're valuable, something you cherish, instead of that, dedicate to him your body, position, your virtue of past, present, and future. Instead of getting upset and angry, you dedicate whatever has been stolen to that person. Not only that, you even dedicate, your own body, positions, and your virtues of this time in whatever way you can. Such is the practice of Bodhisattvas. It is mentioned, the author, Is it Geshe Langdon Tamba or is it Geshe? Oh, I think it's Tongpen Sangpa, Geshe Tongpen, this author. It was mentioned, he was invited to a village to do some ceremonies, and after the ceremony, they made him big offerings, big offerings. So he was on the way back to his, hermitage, and then robbers come and rob all the offering that he was given, and they robbed and they went, and he saw them from going one way, and so then he totally dedicated all of them to them, from his mind, dedicated, no upset, no angry, but instead he dedicated all from his heart to them, and then he told them, wait a little bit, wait a little bit. I need to dedicate. I haven't. I need to dedicate it, and so told them, wait a little bit. I need to dedicate it, and so he dedicated them and told them, don't go this way, go the other way. He said, if you this way, the village people might recognize you that you have stolen my things, and they might have this way. You will not meet them. So he showed them the path. Such is the Bodhisattva practice. Such is the Bodhisattva practice. And this author, he write this for us to give instruction, but not just a nice theory, but he himself practiced all of that. He himself practiced that. He himself practiced that. And when you are able to do that, it make your mind, bring your mind at such a ease. I couldn't do exactly like him, but like, in 2012, when I was traveling in Europe, in Poland, I lost, that kind of my laptop with passport and ticket and money and everything, of course, when I noticed it was gone, of course, I got a little bit kind of nervous, panic, so I tried to find, and I tried to run here, there, report here and there. And after a little time, I noticed it's gone. And then I reflect on that, then I thought, probably I owe this person something from the past. I felt that I owed something from this person, something from that there was something I owe that person. I need to pay it back. And then I also think, probably it will help him and his families, whatever small there is, So then I just, from my mind, I dedicated, maybe it'd be helpful for him and his families and whoever, it'd be meaningful, beneficial, helpful. Once I was able to do that, my mind just calmed down, peaceful. My mind was a little bit agitated at the very beginning, kind of disturbed and not peaceful. After some time, once you let it go and once you dedicate it in that way, you feel like it has been something meaningful. I felt like that I helped in a way. And that kind of helped my mind to be calm and peaceful, So yeah, to be able to do that, then regardless of what, but at least, even in that moment, it helps your mind to be much more peaceful, calm, because you are able to let it go and you are able to see something meaningful, in that way. Hmm? And next is transforming your enemy and the harmful actions of the enemy into the path. Even if someone try to cut off your head, when you haven't done the slightest anything wrong. Of course, if we did something wrong and someone try to, beat you, then at least maybe we can understand a little bit. There is some reasons why he or she is upset and why she or she was, cruel, mean. But when you have done nothing wrong, and then when someone, act violently in that way, normally, of course, we feel very disturbed, upset, and angry. Definitely will be very upset and angry. And we feel we have right to be happy, and we have right to be angry and upset. But here, when we practice in Bodhisattvas, instead of anger and upset for such violent actions, behavior, out of compassion, take all his misdeed upon yourself. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Instead, cultivating, by these persons, acting and behaving in such a harmful way, such a violent way, he or she is creating so much negative karma. And by creating so much negative karma, he or she is going to experience so much suffering, so much pain in the future. And by seeing the future suffering of that person's, and out of compassion, not wanting to see any being suffer, then instead wishing them the worst and bad, then you try to take the suffering and cause of suffering on yourself through the practice of Tonglen. Instead, wishing, may he or she do not have to experience any sufferings because of such actions, such behavior. May he or she doesn't have to experience that result of such actions in the future. May I be able to take their suffering on myself. I myself is going to take their suffering on myself, suffering cause of, and then you can do the practice of Tonglen. Such is the the Bodhisattva's practice. Also understanding, when someone is violent, when someone acts violently, it's clear sign that person is not happy. That person is suffering. That person is going through some pain. Someone who is very peaceful and someone happy person will never hurt and harm others. It is a symptom of someone being disturbed. It's a symptom of someone going through a lot of pain and suffering. It is a symptom someone is very disturbed. Such behavior is symptom of that. And when you understand this is symptom of such pain and suffering, then you might be able to feel some compassion for them. Even though you might not agree with such violent behavior and action, at least you can feel for them. At least you can feel for them why they behave that way. Why they behave that way. It's just like animals, you can see. If whether it's dog, any animal has been abused, treated very badly. And when their mind is disturbed, when there's fear, worry, then out of that mistrust, out of that fear, then they become more violent, aggressive. The reason that they behave aggressive, violent is because they are scared, they are fearful, because they don't trust you or the other beings, because they have been abused, and because of all that trauma. If whether it's a dog, an animal, if they don't feel that fear, mistrust, if they are calm, peaceful, happy, they wouldn't act in such violent way. Same with human beings, And so again, through such, then again, we use that person's harmful, violent behavior to understand their pain and suffering. Through understanding their pain and suffering, we let our love and compassion arise. We let our love and compassion arise by understanding their pain and suffering and wishing them to be free from such pain and suffering. And if possible, on top of that, then taking that pain and suffering on ourselves through the practice of atonement. And such, if we are able to do that, then we have been able to transform such a something, something harmful, painful situation and behavior or action into something positive to feel compassion for them, to feel compassion. The next one is transforming, unpleasant or criticism into the path. Even someone broadcasts all kinds of unpleasant remarks about you throughout the 3,000 world, So someone started to talk bad about you to everyone, everywhere, your faults, your mistakes, your weakness, whatever, So if someone, started to say things bad, negative about you, behind you to everyone's that, again, our normal reaction would be, again, our mind will be disturbed, upset, and angry for such behavior, such actions. But here, by getting upset and angry with all these situations, it doesn't help. By getting upset and angry, it doesn't solve the problem. As Chandrakiri says, by getting upset and angry, whatever happened, will you be able to reverse that? No. Whatever happens, happen. Whatever harm Damage done is done. The past. Of course, we can learn from that. The other can learn from that. We can move forward so that it doesn't be repeated and that. But whatever happened in the past is not something we can change. We can learn from it, but so by getting upset and angry, it's not going to change the situation. A lot of time it makes the situation much more worse. And most importantly, when we're upset and angry, it hurts ourselves. Mostly, it hurts ourselves. It destroys your inner peace, your calmness. Whatever little peace you had before, now is taken away by that anger and hatred and all these feelings. Before we were enjoying a good conversation, laughing and having a good food. Now the food doesn't taste any more good because your mind is disturbed by that. The conversation is not good. Even you try to rest and sleep, you cannot sleep, rest. Even you try to do something, you cannot concentrate because your mind keep on going in that. So it completely kind of, destroy your enjoyment, your happiness, your peace. As long as you hold that feelings. And then, if we talk from the spiritual point of view, then, it kind of damage or make a hole into your love, your feeling of love and compassion. Your feeling of love and compassion, whatever feeling we might have about loving kindness, compassion, through such upset and anger, such negative thoughts, that love and compassion has been somehow damaged a little bit, And then when we talk about, destroying many virtues, karma as well. So there's so many. So therefore, there's no point in that. And so therefore, no matter how painful the situation is, no matter how big the obstacle is, no matter how problematic it is, and making sure that we don't due to such situations, circumstances, that our mind is not disturbed by anger and hatred and so forth. Instead, how can we keep our mind calm and peaceful? And someone who is practicing both, not only to keep our mind peaceful and calm, how can we even feel compassion for those who create such obstacles, such problem, such pain? As Teresa mentioned at the very beginning, it's not easy. But it's not impossible. But it's not impossible. It's not easy, but it's not impossible to feel, even in such situation, not to get upset and angry. Not only not to get upset and angry, to feel compassion as well. There are so many examples of practitioners who have been able to achieve that, who have been able to do that. If they have been able to do that, we have the same potential. It's not something impossible. This one, the Lama often shares stories. You have heard, like there was a monk from, I think his same monastery, Namgyal monastery in Tibet. And then he was in prisons, and tortured for many, many years. Then he was released, and then he was able to escape to India. And then he met the Dalai Lama, And His Holiness the Lama, one day they were having just a casual conversation. And then that monk told about they were just having a casual conversation and about his experience in the prison and that. And the monk said something, there was a couple of moments of danger. And His Holiness said at first he thought he was talking about danger to his life because he was in prison and he was tortured. So in immediately his mind, he thought he was talking about some kind of physical danger. And he asked, what kind of danger do you face? And he said there are a couple of moments, danger of losing compassion for those who torture him. That was how, all these years, 10, 15 years that he was in prison, that there was a couple of moments when he felt like he could lose his compassion for those. So all those throughout, he was able to hold compassion for those who tortured him. If he is able to do that, we all have some. So what I'm saying is possible. It's not something impossible. It's not easy, but it's not possible if we put effort. And we can take His Holiness Dalai Lama, his own examples. He has no bitter feeling, hard feelings for the Chinese government officials, for everything they did, continue to do, all the damage. Still, he feels compassion for. He said he have even more compassion for them. And then also there are many other practitioners, who have been imprisoned and tortured, but who doesn't hold any kind of so much anger and hatred and bitterness, But instead, some of them even feeling compassion for them. So it is not impossible, it's possible. It's not so, absolutely it's not so easy. But if we are able to put effort, and if we can put effort, it is possible. About the 3,000 in return with loving mind. Speaking of the good qualities, this is the practice of Bodhisattvas. Normally, if someone talk bad about us behind, then we start to talk bad about them. That is our response. We try to defend ourselves, and we try to present is their mistake. It's not my mistake. It's not my fault. It's their mistake. It's their fault. So we try to defend ourselves, and we try to talk bad about them, here and there. But that is very ordinary response of ordinary beings. Very ordinary response of very ordinary beings. So here, when you are engaged in both of the path and when you're inspiring, then we try to change that, So instead of talking bad about them, just as they are talking bad about us, instead we talk good about them. Whatever good quality they have, positive quality they have, we talk about their good quality, positive qualities. And not only just being sarcastic, sometimes we can do that, but sarcastic, not really out of true love and compassion, but, being mean, sarcastic, we can, but out of love and compassion, truly talking about their positive qualities, good qualities. Also, in terms of, if we can do that, of course, not only we don't disturb our own mind, do not create more negative karma, do not damage our good side of love and compassion, but we increase the positive and virtue side by out of that loving kindness, and instead talking good about others. Also, if we have conflict, probably that will help to solve the conflict better. That person talk bad about me, I talk bad person about it, I hear that person talking bad about me, it makes me more upset and more resentful. And that person here, I'm talking bad about them. And then again, it holds more, make them more angry, upset, more resentful. And then resentment or anger increases and conflict become bigger, stronger. Well, on the other hand, instead of talking bad, you talk good about them, that person might be very surprised, you know. Even though I have been talking bad about the person, but this person, instead of talking bad, instead is talking good about me. That could change their mind. That could change their behavior, their actions. And that could solve the conflict. That could bring more closer instead of more distant. The other approach make you only more distant, not more closer. With this Bodhisattva approach, there is possibility of bringing it more closer, reducing the conflict, minimizing the conflict. And then next is transforming such as the harsh words into something positive in the path. Though someone may deride and speak bad words with the harsh words, and make you feel small, little, with all kind of speech about you in a public gathering, in a big gatherings, not in front of you in a big gatherings, when there's a lot of people. Again, when something like such things happens, when someone treat you in that way, of course, again, our mind get disturbed. We feel, how dare that you do that, how unkind you are, how mean, how horrible person you are, all of that, and then, we feel anger, hatred, and we respond with such anger and hatred, And then we also try to put the other person down, and we also try to look them down, put them down. We also try to be disrespectful. We also try to use more harsh words, bad words, and so forth. That is, again, very normal, ordinary person's response and reactions. And if we respond in the same way like that, then how we are different from the ordinary normal beings. That is how everyone responds, more or less. As a practitioner, it should be a little bit slightly different, and especially someone who is engaging in the Bodhisattva path, at least our response should be something a little bit more gentle, a little bit more kind, compassion, Otherwise, what is the point of all the study and practice? If our behavior is same, ordinary, like any normal, ordinary being who have not studied, who have not learned, who have not practiced. So here it says, in the public gathering, looking on him as a spiritual teacher, bow to him with a respect. And instead of treating disrespectfully, as a response, we treat that person with a great respect, as you will respect your spiritual guru or spiritual teachers, by seeing that person is the spiritual guru teachers. And it is indeed, a lot of the teachings, masters, they said that the best teacher is your enemy. The best teacher is your enemy. Obstacles, problem, and sufferings. That is from where you can really learn a lot. That is from where you can really grow spiritually, Also from spiritual point of view. And again, for both of us practitioners or Mahayana practitioners, the purpose of meditating and practicing is to reduce and minimize and destroy your ego mind, the self-centeredness, the selfish mind. That is what I would try to do. Try to increase and improve true love, compassion. Try to reduce, minimize, and destroy the selfish attitude, the self-centeredness, the ego mind, because that is the very root of all the problems, suffering, pain. And when you try to meditate, it's hard to do, isn't it? To crush your ego, to destroy your self-centeredness. We try in our practice meditation through different, but with this enemy, with such behavior, it really crushes your ego. Your ego is completely destroyed. When someone treats you disrespectfully, when someone kind of derate you, when someone make you feel small, little, it really hurts ego. It really hurts ego. It really crushes the ego. That's what you wanted. As a practitioner, that is what you wanted. You wanted to crush the ego. We are putting all the effort to crush that ego, to destroy that ego. We pray for that. We wish for that. We engage in practice to do that. And still we struggle. And that person with such actions and behavior really crush it. Your egos really crush it. So again, from that point of view, is the greatest teacher. It's the greatest teacher. Also in teaching, sometimes they say, the best teachers are that which kind of really, push your egos, and lessen your ego, crush your ego, reduce your ego. When someone is kind of, increase your ego is not the best teacher, Instead, increase your ego, feeling, inflating your ego. And so therefore, from that point of view, is the most powerful, the best spiritual guru who teaches. And because with such, they help to really, of course, it's one thing, we don't want to destroy our ego, we don't want to crush our ego. If our practice is to improve our ego, then it's a different matter. But if our purpose is to crush our ego, reduce our ego, destroy our ego, then definitely that's what that person's doing with such action and behavior. So we should be grateful. Grateful. Of course, it's not easy in that moment to remember that and also to feel that. But when you are not in the moment now, we can understand why. Feel and so, if we remind ourselves, if we practice all the time, then with your practice, even when something really happens in that moment, you will be able to remind yourself, and you will be able to apply that, and you will be able to feel that, even in that moment. And if you can feel that, you wouldn't be so upset. Instead, you will be appreciative, grateful, thankful for giving this opportunity for such practice. Such a powerful practice, And next one is transforming, I don't know in English, when you do something good for others, instead of repaying the kindness, then the opposite of that would be that what? Mistreating, maybe. So when you are kind of mistreated, then how can you again transform that into virtue, something in the path? And I think this is similar to it versus a mind training. Out of great out of great hope and expectation to whom you have benefited a lot, and when they turn against you and mistreat you, may I be able to see them as my spiritual guru, So it is kind of more or less similar here. Even a person for whom you have cared, not only you care like your own child, give so much, did so much, And instead of repaying the kindness for your love, your kindness, your care, for everything that you have done for them, instead of that, when they turn against you, and regard you as an enemy, instead of friends, instead of someone who helps you, but instead, when they turn against you, regard you as an enemy, and treat you like an enemy, then of course, again, normally we will be so upset, so angry, If we haven't helped someone so much, if they regard you enemy, treat you like enemy, probably you can understand a little bit, But someone you did so much, you gave so much, you care so much, you love so much, you did so much for them, and then for everything you did, instead of repaying the kindness, they actually turn against you and regard you as an enemy. It's very painful. It becomes very painful, extremely hurtful, painful. And that feeling of extreme hurt and pain, give rise to those negative, bad feeling, so much of anger, resentment, hatred, and so forth. And then we respond with such attitude and some feelings. But that is, again, very normal, ordinary way of responding and reacting. So here, the Bodhisattva's response should be something very different, opposite of that. So instead of, even though he regard you as an enemy and treat you that way, instead of regarding that person as your enemy and treat him badly, here they say, instead cherish him, especially like a mother does her child who is sickened by a sickness. This is the practice of Bodhisattvas. So for example, a child who have some kind of, possessed by some kind of spirit or have some illness, due to the illness, when the mothers try to help the child, sometimes child act violently towards the mothers. And they act violent to the elder because that person some health issues, mental, some health issues, So when the mother understands that, they don't get upset and angry for such. Even though the mother is trying to be kind, compassionate, caring, but the child, instead of, the way child responds is, being violent, trying to say bad things, hit mothers. And mother understand fully why he or she is acting that way, because he or she has some illness. He or she has no control, so they don't lose the compassion. Instead, more compassion, instead feeling even more compassion. How can I treat him and free him from that state? Trying to find all different things, whatever there is available. How can I help? How can I help him to be free from that situation? Such is love, compassion. So saying here, see same way, like that. When someone in such persons regard you as enemy and treat you like enemy, understand that person is doing that because he or she is possessed by the afflicted emotions. Because he or she has illness of afflicted emotions. Because he or she has been controlled, overpowered, overwhelmed by one of those negative emotions. Therefore, he or she needs even more help than someone who doesn't, someone who is not being possessed or overwhelmed by the afflicted emotions. He or she needs even more help, because he or she has more problem, because he or she has more mental illness, because he or she is being so overpowered, overwhelmed by those afflicted emotions. That's why he or she is acting that way. And as we mentioned before, he or she must be experiencing a lot of pain themselves. That's why they're acting that way. Through that understanding, instead of anger, hatred, you try to feel compassion. Try to feel compassion. and try to react with compassion in however way we can. And so that is here the Bodhisattva's practice, and so as um, and again, transforming the disparage into the path. Even equal inferior persons, someone who is equal to you or who is inferior less to you in whatever way, in terms of quality, it can be education, it could be whatever, in terms of wealth, whatever, disparage you out of pride, again, we will be upset and angry, If someone whom regards superior than ourselves, if they dispatch you in that way, maybe we might be able to take it a little bit, At least you regard that person more supreme than yourself, And when they disparage you, you might be able to take a little bit. But when you regard someone or equal or even less than yourself, and when they disparage you, we cannot take it. We feel very upset and angry. Again, respond with such anger. But again, here, just as it's mentioned, it doesn't help you. It doesn't help the others. It doesn't help the situations. It doesn't help short term. It doesn't help long term by getting upset and angry. So there's no really. It's not healthy. It's not meaningful to get upset and angry. So therefore, instead of getting upset and angry, we place him as that you would your spiritual teachers hold that person's supreme, regard highly, and with respect on crown of your head. This is the practice of Bodhisattva. Again, by seeing that person as the best teacher with such actions. And again, when everyone is nice, kind, loving, caring, compassionate, we might feel, I'm such a patient person. I never get upset. Yeah, we might think, all these years, one whole year, I didn't get upset and angry. I must be doing quite well. Because everyone has been so nice and kind to you. Nobody really challenged you. And so when someone's always loving, compassionate, caring, and you also feel love for them, compassion for them. And you might think, I'm such a kind person, compassionate person, loving person. Sometimes we might kind of, and then with such situation, such person comes and make you put in the practice, and that is when we realize where we are and where we need to work on. How long way there is for us to go, So in that case, these persons help you to evaluate your practice. It really helps to evaluate where our practice, where we are now. That is where we really understand where my practice is, where I need to improve, where I need to work on, how much I need to work on, how much there's need to go. Otherwise, we might get kind of the word I'm trying to find sometimes. Yeah, we might just kind of mislead ourselves, And so in that sense, is the best teacher to help us to evaluate our own practice. And with that, then we again appreciate, such person's action is so wonderful, grateful. It opened my eyes. It opened my eyes. It helped me to evaluate myself. It helped me to see where I am. It helped me to see where I need to work on, how much there is much to go on. And so again, when you see that, when you feel that, then you will appreciate that person and that person's in that way. And you will regard that person as a teacher. And then you don't get upset and angry because you regard that as something meaningful, beneficial, helpful. And so that is. So then transforming, extreme poverties into a path, or extreme challenges and problems, obstacles. Though you lack what you need and are constant, so one, you lack your basic needs. We are not talking about luxury, even the very basic needs. Not having resource for your basic needs. And so of course when you have such situations, it's a painful, for an ordinary being who doesn't have tools to deal with that, painful. On top of that, then constantly disparaged by others. So you are in such a situation where you struggle with your basic needs, and then on top of that, people disparage you, saying bad things about you, saying bad things about your situations, So of course, it is very, very painful, even more hurtful, and are affiliated by dangerous sickness and spirit. And then not only that, on top of that, you are having a health issue because of the sickness, illness, sickness, health issues. It's like everything's in our life, sometimes when things go wrong, everything goes wrong. Do you get it? When things go wrong one way, you feel like we can deal with it, But when everything seems like everything's going the wrong way, then, it totally makes you very discouraged and lose hope, and, can make your mind go very dark, depressed, hopeless, all of that, such thing. Sickness and without discouraging, take on the misdeed and the pain of all the living. When that happens, so instead of being discouraging, feeling hopeless, feeling very dark, feeling like, instead here, be courageous, the Bodhisattva courage. Instead of that, then, instead of having the courage to deal with all these different challenges that you are experiencing, on top of that, even having more courage to take other sufferings and misdeeds and cause suffering on yourself. Not afraid to take on other suffering and cause of suffering on top of that. Such is the Bodhisattva practice. So Bodhisattvas are the most courageous persons, most courageous. And such is, so again, training to be very courageous, not being easily knocked down by any kind of challenges, obstacle, and problem. Instead, the Bodhisattvas, are not afraid of problem, obstacle, and sufferings. And so training that to be courageous and not to lose the hope. Being discouraged, instead, through the practice of Tonglen, again, we take all the suffering, of course, and the cause of suffering, the misdeeds, the negative karma and delusion oneself, and giving all whatever virtues and happiness we have towards them, and such is the Bodhisattva practice. So I think today maybe we will kind of stop here. Okay. If there is questions, I can take one or two.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
I never ask questions, but do you need to be quite strong to do this practice of Tonglen in yourself, like mentally and physically?
Definitely, I don't know physically, but definitely mentally, you have to be strong. Definitely. So if one is not strong mentally, then you can do a lot of those practice. Some of them, if you are not ready to kind of carry the big burden, you can carry in lighter way. Even you cannot take all the suffering on yourself. At least you can, you can practice. By me experiencing whatever I'm experiencing now, may no one have experienced that. May I be able to experience on behalf of everyone, so they don't have to experience that. So that is more lighter way.
The light version.
Light versions, So we use that our own pain, our own suffering, our own challenge to feel compassion for others, knowing that there are so many others similar or worse, and who are not experiencing, but there is the potential, the cause, they are still left. And so by me experiencing that, me going through that, may no one have to experience. May no one have to experience that. May I be able to experience on behalf of everyone, so they don't have to experience. So you can say that is more kind of lighter versions, when we can start on that. And then when we become a little bit more courageous, our mind is more stronger, then we can even visualize taking on other sufferings on oneself. Yes, please.
So the practice of Tonglen, do we agree that when you say I want to take on the suffering from others is to train our own mind? We don't actually relieve the others of their suffering. It's just for our own mind that we do this. Is that correct? Or is there also a benefit to the others?
There can be benefit for others too. It depends on many conditions, when karmic connection between those two persons, person doing the practice and for whom they are doing it, in terms of the level of the practitioners, karmic connections, also the karma of other persons, to be relieved or to reduce our pain, suffering, whatever. So many conditions have to come. If the all conditions come together, there's possibility that it can be also benefit, some effect on the others. But of course, the main practice is to train our mind to be more kind, more compassionate, and more courageous. more strong and more courageous, and not fearful and scared of taking the pain on something other on yourself. So it's training that mind to be more stronger, more courageous, and more kind compassion. But also is when many conditions come together, it's also possible to affect the others as well, some way.
For me, I experienced it when I broke my shoulder. So it's very painful, but instead of grasping on the pain, just to think that someone, when you have a crash with a car and all the body is broken, not only the shoulder, that means all the pain. Just yeah. Otherwise, focusing on the suffering in myself.
So any?
Geshe, we
Yes.
have Anilo-san online who has a question for you.
Okay.
Hello, Geshe.
Hello, Alina.
It's about the stealing, because when I was still in Bern and I went shopping for dog, and so then on the way home in the bus I had my wallet stolen from from the pocket of my coat. But because I had shopped before, so there was very little money in it. So then I had these two kinds of minds, but they also say you can also only have one kind of mind. On one hand, I was sorry for the people who stole my wallet, that there was not more money in it, because it was really not worthwhile to create all the karma. But on the other hand, I was also happy that there was not much money in it. So what do you think? I think maybe the one happy, sorry for them that there was not more money in it. Maybe it was just the theory of the practice, but not quite, how to say, not quite genuine. And the other one being happy that there was not so much money in it. Maybe that was the self-cherishing one. But it was really at the same time almost.
Yeah, I think. Well, our mind always struggles. One moment we think is good, another moment we think is bad, and so I think. So I wouldn't say one is more genuine and one is less genuine on that. But that kind of struggles we have a lot of time in our practice or even our general life. One moment we feel like I really want to forgive. Another moment we feel like, oh, why should I forgive, or I shouldn't forgive? If I forgive, then I'm allowing that person or this. So there is all kind of this kind of struggles in our mind, because we haven't reached a point where we can, with total convictions, that without that kind of doubt, we are still in the progress of our practice. And so I think, but definitely I think if we have reached certain point, then definitely the feeling of feeling sorry that there was nothing will remain more strongly and all the time. And instead of having that thought that I'm glad there isn't too many, there wasn't much in that. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
The one that felt sorry that there wasn't much inside definitely felt much better than the one who was happy that it felt a bit more noble, or more, more like a practitioner kind of thing.
Yeah. And to have that thought is wonderful. Most people wouldn't have that thought at all. That feeling sorry that there was not enough. I think most people wouldn't feel that at all. Even for a moment. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so then we'll do the dedications. Yawadi nyotuta lama sangye chukyu Do chi chang ma le pa te sa la we pa so dang chu sen pyo ren po che ma ge pa na ge gyu chi ge wa nyam ba me ba ya kong le kong do pe wa Kari rawe kore shingante, pendang dewa nande chungwe, kere senwa tenze yakso, shabe se te pato tenyo shi. Patient bearing the hardship of the spreading the teachings of Muni in general and the teaching of the victorious Jamgon in hundreds of directions. Lord of Dharma holding the three vows and wearing the second robe. Oh, this one maybe. Please quickly return as the glory of peerless teachings. Okay. I think maybe that is okay. Thank you, everyone. Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Geshe. Thank you, Anila. Thank you, everybody in the center, everybody online.
Thank you, Lars.
See you tomorrow at 7.